Hello. Okay, this is part 2 of my video. I'm sorry, my live broadcast just ground to a halt, so unfortunately I'm having to record this now, so that will be up on my page shortly. Okay, so I was just about to explain to you my experiments and my discoveries making eggshell pendants. As I mentioned earlier, at the end of my last video, I've discovered that in Eastern Europe it seems to be very popular to make things using eggshells, decorative things. It's used a lot to cover things like bottles, to make pictures, to cover boxes, just about anything really. And also I came across quite a lot of jewellery made with eggshells as well. Now I've sold a number of the items. This is the only one I've got left that I could show you, I think. Yeah. This is just to give you a heads up of what I did, in case you're interested. So these were sort of cardboard hearts that I found when I went to a craft fair. I think you can get them from sort of bridal places. I think Hobbycraft might sell something similar that you can decorate yourself. So first of all, I painted them, ready to put the eggshells on. Then you keep your eggshells, you take all the membrane off the inside, and that's important because if you don't take the membrane off, it won't stick properly when you come to glue it down. So you take the membrane off, wash them thoroughly, and then leave them to dry. I put them either on a radiator or out in the sunshine if it's a hot day. Then basically you have to coat the surface of whatever you're applying them to with either PVA glue, or you can use double-sided sticky tape as well. That also works. I have seen videos where they've put other things underneath, like tissue and tin foil, and then stuck on the top. But I think do your research first if you're interested. It's something you want to do. So yeah, so basically I put my eggshells on, and as I've explained before, I do love using nail varnish. So I've used acrylic paint to start with metallic colours as well as base colours too, and then I painted over the top with a little bit of extra nail varnish, just some more metallics and a little bit of glitter. And then when that was all finally completely dry, I covered it in PVA glue and Mod Podge as varnish. And very light, very interesting, very fiddly as well to do. You have to have some patience with this, but I do think it's worth the effort. Yeah, I have made smaller things, but unfortunately, as I said before, I've sold them. I don't know whether you can see that. That's another one there. That's the only other one I've got left now. But you can use any shape you like. It doesn't have to be a heart, of course. So you can use anything you like. But as I'd got quite a few of these hearts, I started getting a bit experimental. So I've tried various techniques, and I'm going to show you a few of these. So this one here, I don't know if you can see that. That one. Again, I covered it with kitchen tissue, kitchen roll. That's where you can get the texture. Can you see that texture around the edges there? When I show it really close to. Then I painted it, and then I stuck on buttons, as you can see. I think it's pretty much all buttons. And once they were firmly glued down, it was all dry. I painted again with a dark green, and then when that was dry I brushed over with silver, and you can see it's rather striking and very different. And of course then the final touch was to cover it with varnish, which is really important because it makes it last a lot longer, and helps to hold everything down, so you don't want anything flying off. So I've tried various different techniques. This one again, this had kitchen roll first and foremost. Then I had some paper doilies, so I put those on. Then some buttons, but there's also a few beads and bits and pieces on there as well. Painted it in pink and then brushed silver over the top. So that was a different technique. I also had some foil off chocolate wrappers. I'm fascinated by the idea of using that. So this one has got gold chocolate wrapping foil on the underneath. Then I went over it and using tissue paper I dabbed various shades of red and a little bit of gold over it, and then stuck, as you can see, beads and little metal coins, and yeah, then brushed over them again. So again varnished, and this one was something similar. This is again, let me see, yeah, this one's another foil, chocolate foil one. This time I put the glue, the shapes you see are drawn in hot glue. That's a wooden heart that I think they came from like a bridal decoration kit. That's a rhinestone, a few little beads, and then paint over it and varnish. And finally, this is a technique that I've been using, I've used elsewhere, which you might, if you watch my other videos, you'll see. This one, again, I covered it with kitchen roll, but then I drew on it with hot glue. So these wiggly shapes you see are all done in hot glue. So then, once I'd drawn them in hot glue, I painted the whole thing black, and then lightly brushed the gold over the top to pick out the shapes. But I knew I was going to try to stick jewels on it, so I made the shapes, round shapes to stick the jewels inside. But believe it or not, these jewels are made from hot glue. Look at that. I don't know if you know anything about jewellery, I only know a little bit, but in the medieval period they weren't able to, and earlier, they weren't able to cut stones very much, not like we can now. They didn't have the facilities. So quite often, if you look at portraits, the stones look almost like boiled sweets. And that was because they couldn't really cut them in a lot of detail, a lot of facets. So you can find out how to make these hot glue jewels on YouTube, and I think that's what they look like. They look like medieval jewels. You basically put hot glue onto tin foil and then cut them out, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail now because it's something you can easily find out about. But I was fascinated by that, and I like using them. I've used them on other pieces of jewellery too, but that was just another experiment. Now I'm coming towards the end of my chat, but I'm going to explain a little bit about some of the crochet jewellery that I've done. Something that I have had experiments with. Again, it was an idea I found on YouTube, so give credit where credit's due. And this is a necklace that I made using buttons. Now, for those of you that don't crochet, don't fear, because this is the simplest and the most basic crochet stitch you can learn. It's a chain. So even if you don't learn how to crochet properly, you can still make this, as long as you've got a crochet hook and some string or some cotton yarn. So basically, I got the idea from a lady called Nastasia.com from YouTube. So she's the lady to go to. She uses beads, but I thought I'd experiment and use buttons. I have got some bead ones as well, which I'll show you, but it's dead easy. If you go onto my YouTube channel, which is Val Rainbow Mandala Arts, there's a video to show you how to do the one I'm going to show you now. So this one is simply made, whoops, oh dear, this one is just made with beads, wooden beads. I bought the wooden beads from Hobbycraft, and I made a chain and I included the beads on the chain. And that looks lovely, doesn't it? Looks a bit like Sweeties, I think. So yeah, there's a video on YouTube, show you how to do that. But as I say, I've got the original idea off Nastasia.com. So, and I couldn't stop making them. I've got loads of them now. So you use cotton yarn or a very fine string. You can get baker's twine at places like The Works. that works too. That works too. So for example, this one, you can see a little bit of it here. This one was made with baker's twine, and that's just got various plastic beads on it. I have got one that I've made that has glass beads on it. The only thing that you have to remember, especially if you're using beads, is you've got to have beads with big enough holes for your yarn to go through. So these are glass beads, and they look fantastic. They were really nice quality glass beads, but it was a devil of a job to get the yarn through because the holes weren't very big. So the wooden buttons that I got from Hobbycraft are really good because they've got great big holes in them. So that was really good, really easy one to do. And finally, I'm going to... Oh, no, there's a couple more things. One thing that I've just done recently, and this is based on a technique that I talked about a while ago. In fact, I'll show you some of it now. I've got over here... this is a bangle. I think I might have shown them a while back, actually, which you might have seen. And this is made from a drinks hot chocolate tube, bit like a Pringles tube, a cardboard tube. And basically, I drew on it with hot glue, and then I covered it in a chocolate foil wrapper, and then painted it. And that looks pretty amazing, doesn't it? So I thought I'll try that technique on something else. So although it's a little bit more fiddly, I used the same technique on these earrings. So these are these little hearts that I bought. As I say, I think you can get them from places like Hobbycraft. And these are wooden hearts. And as you might be able to see, I drew on it a heart shape in hot glue, and then I covered it with foil. And stuck it down and then painted it basically. So you might be able to see that's the back, and I had to pierce a hole. I've got something called a bradawl, which is a very sharp pointy metal thing with a handle on it, so I managed to pierce a hole with that. But if you've got a sharp pointed implement, because these are wooden but they're very thin, so there you go. And they look like metal, but they're not. Amazing, eh? Okay, now last but not least, something I do like doing because of my crochet is I like making flowers, and so I've experimented here and made a few things with crochet. Now these are brooches, so I've got a number of these. These are like a double flower brooch, and as you can see, they've got pins on the back, which you can either glue on or you can sew them on. These have got buttons in the middle, so I've got a few variations. Let me see if I can find some of these. Sometimes I glue the centre on, sometimes I sew it on. That's another one, but that's got a little sequin glued in the centre. So these are a double flower. Again, very easy. If you go onto YouTube and you're a crocheter, very easy to find how to do those. Dead easy, actually. So I've done those in all sorts of colours, but I also thought I would experiment a little bit more and do a few other things. But some of the shapes, and there's another one that's like a little bit like a chrysanthemum. Again, it's got a sequin in the middle. So, but I thought I'd experiment with some different shapes, but I decided I was going to stiffen them. So I decided to try other shapes. So that is kind of like a starfish sort of shape, and again it's got a pin on the back, and I put a bead on the front, but that is stiffened, so you can see it's not as fluffy and soft as the flowers, and that's because I stiffened it with PVA glue. It just gives it a little bit more body, and it'll make it last a bit longer. So I've made a few things using that technique. There's so many patterns on YouTube, I tell you, it's amazing. So I had a little experiment. I did a bird. I don't know whether you can see that. and also I've done some hearts as well, if I can find one of those. Oh, little fish, they've proved quite popular with children. And also I think I might, oh, there's another bird, you might better see him a little bit better, little bird. And if I can find it, I have got some hearts somewhere, if I haven't lost them. But again, they were really quite quick to do. Something that people have been doing, oh, I can't find it, something that people have been doing, not just round here, oh there you go, there's a heart. A really nice thing that you can do if you're a crocheter, you may have come across the idea, is a kind of yarn bombing idea. So in these times when we've been locked up for so long and everybody's feeling a bit down and depressed, quite a few places have started crocheting things like little hearts or flowers. The group I belong to here, they did snowflakes at Christmas, and you leave them around the town or the place where you live. Leave them in places where people pick them up, and you can put a little note with them saying take me home, or just to make you smile, and people are really touched by that. And I think that seems like a really nice thing to do. It's such an easy, simple little thing, and it just sometimes makes people's day, so you might want to think about doing that. So that's the end of my chat for this time. So that's showing you quite a lot of my jewellery. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you want to know more, you can contact me on Facebook, obviously. I have a Mandala Arts page, if you want to check that out. I've also got my own Facebook page as Val Rainbow. I'm working on a website, but I haven't got that going yet. But if you want to buy things, and everything that you've seen just is for sale, so you could inquire through my Facebook page. Also, I've got 1 or 2 videos on my Val Rainbow Mandala Arts YouTube channel as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and hope to see you the next time.